Hi friends, myself Sainath Lambade, and today we are going to see the part 2 of human eye. In this part 2 lecture, we are going to discuss about the vascular tunica. Vascular tunica. This is a middle coat of eyeball that is also called as a uvea or uveal tract. So it is a middle layer of eyeball and it is composed of three parts. This middle layer is composed of three parts. First one is the choroid. This choroid part is highly pigmented and vascular part. Followed by this choroid, there is having the presence of ciliary bodies. This choroid part is extended on the sclera cornea junction, and followed by the ciliary body there is having the presence of iris. We are going to discuss one by one. We will now discuss about the choroid. So it is a middle vascular pigmented layer and not a complete layer. This middle layer is not a complete layer, it is a incomplete layer because it is not complete the whole eyeball. It has not completed or it has not covered whole eyeball, so it is halfly or some part is left to cover the eyeball, so it is called as not a complete layer. So choroid proper, it lines the sclera. It lines the sclera. This choroid part, pigmented part, internally line the scleral region. You know that sclera has covered the eyeball about the 5/6 part. That is, the 5/6 part is covered by the sclera and 1/6 part by the cornea. Due to its pigmented nature, it prevents internal reflection. This choroid is highly pigmented, so whatever the light which is enter in the eyeball, that is not reflected. So internal reflection is avoided because of the pigmented nature of the choroid. Followed by this, the blood vessels of the choroid provide a nutrition and oxygen to the retina. Followed by this choroid, there is having the presence of another internal layer that is called as the retina. So retina takes a nutrition and oxygen from the choroid because the choroid is having the presence of high blood vessels and pigmented part. So it also contains melanocyte that produce a melanin pigment. This choroid is having the presence of melanocyte, and this melanocyte produce melanin pigment, and melanin causes this layer to appear dark brown color. Due to the presence of melanin, this choroid has been appear dark brown color. Melanin absorbs stray light. Whatever the light which is going to deflect inside, that light is absorbed by the melanin. So that is called as a stray light rays and convert eyeball into the dark chamber. Convert the eyeball into the dark chamber. And yesterday we have discussed about the albinos. These albinos lack melanin in all the parts of the body. Those who are suffering from the albinos, they are not having the presence of melanin secretion in all the body parts. Their total body is white in color, whitish in color, including also the eye. So they oftenly need to wear the sunglass. They oftenly have to use the sunglass because the melanin is also absent in their eyes. So after the choroid, there is another part that is a ciliary body. These are the ciliary bodies are the triangular shaped extensions of the choroid. So it appears dark brown in color because it contains melanin producing melanocyte. This ciliary bodies also appear dark brown in color because why they are in dark brown in color, because they contain some melanin producing melanocytes. Then after this, peripherally, it is a smooth peripherally, that the outer structure of this ciliary body is smooth type. Outer you see the all the smooth type, but centrally it has numerous finger like projection. So this in the central part they shows a finger like these projections. They are called as a numerous finger like projection called as a ciliary processes. These finger-like projections are called as, I have given here a name, they are called as the ciliary processes, and these ciliary processes produce aqueous humor. They produce aqueous humor. They produce aqueous humor. Then followed by these, the ligaments and the muscles of the ciliary body help in the adjustment of the size of the lens. Whatever the muscles and the ligaments which are mainly present in the ciliary body, they help in the attachment or size of the adjustment, the size of the lens. Then zonulezin, the another name for the suspensory ligament. The suspensory ligaments are attached to the one side for the ciliary body, and another they are attached to the lens. So this suspensory ligament are also known as zonulezin. The ciliary muscles is a circular band of smooth muscles. Ciliary muscles are circular. I have drawn here this. They are in the circular form. So the ciliary muscles is a circular band of smooth muscles. Contraction and relaxation of the ciliary muscles changes the tightness of the zonular fibers. The contraction and relaxation will alters the in the tightness of the zonula fibers or suspensory fibers. You may call that as a suspensory fibers. They alters the shape of the lens. This alters the shape of the lens, adapting it for the near or far vision. The lens are made up of thousands of cells. If you want to watch the longer vision, the lens will be formed like this, flattened structure. But if you want to watch nearer object, this is if you want to watch far object, the lens have been become flattened, that have been become flattened. But if you want to watch nearer object, so it will become a rounded shape, that is a closer object. The lens have been, so this adjustment is carried out by the zonular fibers that are changes in the depending on the which type of vision you have to. If you want to watch a larger vision, that time it becomes a flat. If you want to closer vision, they have become a rounded type shape. The lens gets a rounded type shape. And after this we'll see the iris. We'll see the iris. And iris, this iris gives a color to the our eyes. Actually what you are observing, the round shaped, that a black, brown or grayish color, that is not our cornea, that is actually the iris from the inside. So iris gives color to our eyes. First of all, you should know that iris gives a color to our eyes. At the junction of the sclera and cornea, the vascular part of the choroid is sharply bends into the cavity of the eyeball, forming a thin and colored partition called as a iris. It consists of melanocytes. This iris is also having the presence of melanocytes and circular and a radial smooth muscles fibers. This iris are having consist of or presence of melanocytes, means this melanocyte will do the secretion of melanin. Then circular rounded type of muscles and radially spoke like smooth muscles fibers are present. The amount of melanin in the iris determines the eye color. Depending on the melanin, it gives a color to the eyes. So eyes appear brown and black when the iris contains large amount of melanin. If there is a presence of large amount of melanin, the eyes will get the color brown and black. The eyes appear blue when its melanin concentration is very low. if there is a very low concentration of melanin, that time our eyes will get the color that is a blue color, and eyes appear green when its melanin concentration is moderate. When it is a moderate condition, that time the eyes will get the green color. So you are watching this cornea, this iris. This is the iris, and this round form, that is a pupil. That is a pupil, and this rounded form, that is called as a circular muscles, which are mainly present in the iris. These are the circular muscles, and these are the radial muscles, which are mainly present in the iris. These circular muscles are also known as the constrictor pupillae. These are also called as a constrictor pupillae. These circular muscles help in the constriction of the pupil. Then these radial muscles help in the dilator of the pupil. They help in the dilation of the pupil. They increase the size of the pupil. That is called as a dilation. Or constriction of the pupil means making a size smaller. That is called as a constrictor of the pupil. That is carried out by the circular muscle. Dilation of the pupil, that is carried out by the radial muscles. Then we'll see about the pupil. The pupil, a aperture in the center of the iris. You are seeing this aperture where the light is going to be enter. This iris plays the role of a shutter. How much light is to be passed inside the eye, that is carried out by the iris depending on the light. If you go in the dark place, at that time the iris will become dilated to enter more and more light. If you go to the very having a more light presence, that time that will do the constriction of the pupil. So an aperture in the center of the iris, this is a center and this is called as a pupil. That is the aperture for the light is entering from that pupil. It allows the free entry of light. Its diameter varies from 2 millimeter to 8 millimeter. Normally it's 3 to 4 mm. That is a 3 to 4 mm normally. Pupil is larger in the females. Pupil is larger in the female as compared to the males. It constricts in a bright light. The pupil is constricted. Pupil becomes smaller in the bright light and dilates in the dim light. The constriction of the pupil is miosis. Dilation of the pupil, it is called as a mydresis. Then the drugs which cause meiosis are mitotic. Example, that is acetylcholine. Drugs which cause mydresis are the mydretic. Example, that is atropine. The example that is given the drug, that is atropine. And after the death, pupil dilate, does not respond to the light. When the death is taken place of the person, at that time the pupil is in the form of dilated. So when the person dies, doctor firstly observed his eyes. In his eyes they are observing the pupil, either that pupil is dilating or constricting. If that is dilating or constricting, that person may be live. So first of all they are checking the pupil. After this last part, the innermost layer in the eye, we are going to see that is a retina. That is a retina. It is a innermost delicate. It is a innermost and delicate non-vascular light sensitive layer. It has two regions. A single layer of pigmented non-sensory part lining the iris and ciliary body, and second part, sensory part, lining the choroid. The sensory part is lining to the choroid. Whatever the sensory parts, the sensory neuron are present, they are lining to the choroid. The sensory part, they are having the presence of rods and cones. We'll see the retina, the outer surface of the retina, that is a pigmented part, and inner, that is a nervosa part. Then nervosa is a transparent and made up of three layers. That outer is a photosensitive layer. that having the presence of made up of rods and cone cells, middle layer that is having the presence of bipolar nerve cells, and inner layer that is having the presence of ganglion cells. Ganglion means a number of neuronal cells. Then, or they are also called as a multipolar neurons. They are also called as a multipolar neuron. So we'll see the outermost photosensitive layer that is having the presence of rods and cones. One by one we'll see the points about that. They are modified bipolar neurons. These rods and cones are modified bipolar neurons, and these are embedded in the pigment layer of the retina. They are embedded in the pigmented layer of the retina. Pigmented layer has a cuboidal epithelial cells. This pigmented layer is having the presence of cube-like cells, that is cuboidal epithelial cells. It engulfs the disc of the outer segments of the rods and cones. It engulfs whatever the disc-like structure, the rounded structure of the rods and cones are engulfed by this cube-like cells, cube-like structure, and this disc-like structure of the rods and cones are halfly enter into the engulfed by the this rods and cones. The outer segments of the rods has thousands of flattened discs. The outer surface of the rods has a thousands flattened, this flat type disc. Inner segment has main metabolic machinery like a mitochondria, Golgi complex, etc. Plasma membrane of disc has a photopigment molecule. Then we'll see the inner layer that is called as a ganglionic cells are present, or multipolar cell neuron. The nerve fibers from the basal end of the ganglion cells collectively forms the optic nerve. We'll see in the last diagram about this. Now we'll see the photos pigment molecule. Actually, this photopigment molecule is made up of two things, that is a protein opsin and retinine. Retinine. Then protein opsin and retinine. This retinine is a aldehyde derivative of vitamin E. Vitamin, it is a derivative of vitamin A. See, this protein opsin again having divided into two types, that is a rhodopsin that will actually present in the rods, and iodospin that is present in the cones. That is present in the cones. This rhodopsin we'll see again more abundant than the cones. They are present in more amount. They are about present 120 millions in one retina, 120 millions, and they are about 6 million in cones are about 6 million in one retina. So if the question arise here, either rods are more or cones, so rods are more abundant as compared to the cones. So active in a dim light. These rods are active in a dim light, no color vision. They won't give the color vision. Gives a scotopic vision. They give the scotopic vision present in the periphery of the retina. These rods are mainly present in the periphery, outer line of the retina. High sensitive but low acuity. They are highly sensitive but low acuity, means sharpness is not more, so low acuity. 10 to 100 rods are connected to one nerve fiber. 10 to 100 rods are connected to one nerve fiber. We'll see about these cones, this iodospin. Which protein, that is iodospin, present in the cones. There are 6 millions in per retina of the eye. Then less than the rods, they are less as compared to the rods, provides a color vision. Cones gives us a color vision, active only in the bright light. They are active only in the bright light and gives a phototopic vision. They give us a phototopic vision. Cones present in a center of the retina. They are actually present in the center. Rods are present at the periphery. So red, green and blue. This red are called as a erythropsin. This green gives a chloropsin and blue gives us synopsin. Pigments are present, and this three gives us red, green, blue. Erythropsin, chloropsin and synopsin, these total three get mixed and gives us a color vision, low sensitive but high acuity. They are low sensitive but gives a sharpness. They are high acuity. One cone is connected to one nerve fiber. Here is a difference between this. So 10 to 100 rods are connected to one fiber, but here one cone is connected to the one fiber. Then followed by this blind spot. At the end of the eye, is having the presence of blind spot or optic disc. It is the region in the retina from where the optic nerve leaves. I will show in the diagram for you. This see, this is a eyes, this is cornea, and this is last part, and this from where the this optic nerve leaves, that part is called as a blind spot. That is called as a blind spot. This is a blind spot. Now after this we'll see the yellow spot. So this is a yellow spot, that is also called as a macula lutea. Yellow spot is called as a macula lutea. It is a depressed part of the retina just lateral to the blind spot. You are seeing here, this is a blind spot and this is a depressed part. This depressed part is called as a yellow spot, and that depressed nature is given one name, that is also called as a fovea. That is called as a fovea, and these foveas are rich in the number of cones are present, and this gives a sharpness of the vision. So it is a depressed part of the retina just lateral to the blind spot. It has a lutein protein. It has a lutein protein, and in its center fovea centrally is which has a only cones. This fovea is having the presence of only cones, and it is a region of sharpest vision or most accurate vision, that gives a most accurate vision. So we'll see from the outermost layer of the human eye, that is a sclera, and followed by this outer region you are seeing the pigmented layer, that is a choroid. This pigmented layer is a choroid, and this choroid goes and extend at this point and form a triangular shape, and that is called as this. See, this choroid is extended at the front side. That extension of the choroid is called as a ciliary bodies. These are called as a ciliary bodies, and these ciliary bodies are, you are seeing the thread like structure, they are attached to the this is a lens. This is a lens, and lens is attached with the help of suspensory ligament. These are called as a suspensory ligament or zonulezine. Another name for the suspensory ligament is a zonulezine. And this front side you are watching, that is actually cornea. That is a part, the bulges out, that is a cornea, and the light entering, and this again extensions to this ciliary body, the small bending structure you are might be seeing, and this small bending structure, that is called as a iris. Actually this is a iris, and the gap between the iris, that is known as a pupil, where from the light enters. And at this anterior part, the anterior chamber of the eyeball, that is having the presence of aqueous humor. That is having the presence of aqueous humor, and this chamber, that which chamber, that posterior chamber, that is having the presence of vitreous humor. That is having the presence of vitreous humor. And we'll see the last part, that is a mechanism of how do the light passes. We'll see first here only, when the light firstly will enter from the cornea, it will pass the aqueous humor, and again it will pass from the pupil, it will enter from the lens, again it has to pass from the vitreous humor, and it will fall on the then retina. That will fall on the retina, and retina is also having the three layers, the arrangement at the, you are seeing that this is a choroid part, and this is a part of the retina, and this is a scleral part. So at the choroid part, the cells are like this attached at the pigmented layer. So these are the rods are having the two segment, this one segment and another one. These are the cones, this is one segment and this is triangle type, the another segment, that are the cone shape. Then these rods and cones are the outermost layer, they are present in the retinal outermost. Then middle layer there is having the presence of bipolar. The these are the bipolar neuron, like a chocolate covering you might be seeing from the two side. These are the having two extensions, so they are called as a bipolar. And these are the ganglionic neurons, and their axons are connected with each other at the last end, and these will pass from the blind spot, that is called as a optic nerve. This is a retinine and opsin. When the light will pass, it will fall on the directly, it will enter from this, and they will directly enter from the ganglion, then from the this bipolar neuron, and that will form on the rods and cones. And when it will fall on the cones, at that time what will happen, they are having the pigment that present chemical inside these cones, that is retinine and opsin. And when this will pass on this cone, they will be separated, retinine and opsin will get separated, and there will be the generation of impulse, and this will generate the impulse, and it will release the enzyme, and that release of the acetylcholine will stimulate this bipolar neuron. Again this bipolar neuron will stimulate the ganglionic neuron, and this nerve will pass the impulse towards the brain. In this way, when the light falls on the pigmented segments of the cones, that is falls on the pigmented layer of the cones, there is a breakdown of the retinine and opsin, that is called as a bleaching. And first point, change in the retina when the light rays fall on its. Light falls on rods and cone cells of the retina, then breaking up of the light sensitive pigment, the specific wavelength of the light, stimulation to there is getting stimulation to the rods and cone cells, and generation of nerve impulse transmitted to the bipolar nerve cells. The nerve impulse is passed to the bipolar nerve cells, and nerve impulse in the axons of the ganglion cells coverage and leave via optic nerve. The nerve impulse is transmitted by the optic nerve to the brain. The perception of the image by the brain cells in the visual area of the cerebrum. So in this way we have seen about the human eye. So one point I would like to share with you, that about the lens, little bit part, that is about the differentiation between the lens. I have to tell something about the lens. So a lens is a elastic and biconvex lens, you might be seeing, that is a biconvex from the two side. So this is a lens, so it is called as a biconvex. It is a elastic biconvex living structure which is capable of changing its refractory power. It is made up of thousands of layers of cells which has crystalline protein. The lens cells lose their nucleus and the organelles during the development to become perfectly transparent. It gets nutrition from the aqueous humor present on front as well as back of the lens. Lens continues to grow throughout the life. With advancing age, there is a decrease in the elasticity of the lens, that is called as a presbyopia, cataracts or safed motia, due to the deposition of protein on the lens. Cataract surgery, the defective lens is replaced by the artificial, that is called as a IOL, that is the intraocular lens. Lens absorb ultraviolet rays. And the difference between the aqueous and vitreous humor we have to know about. This aqueous humor, it is a watery fluid present in the anterior segment of the eye. we have discussed. Then filtered out by the ciliary process. This aqueous humor is filtered by the ciliary process. It has glucose, salts, amino acids, lactic acid and pyruvic acid. Provides a nutrition to the avascular structure. It provides nutrition to the avascular structure of the eye, and it is continuously replaced. This aqueous humor is continuously replaced. Now we'll see about the vitreous humor. Is a jelly like substance present in the posterior segment of the eye and is covered by the hyaloid membrane, that is having a covered by the hyaloid membrane, formed during the embryonic development. This vitreous humor is found in human body during the embryonic development. It has pyruvic acid, lactic acid, hyaluronic acid and hyalurocytes. It maintains a spherical shape of the eyeball. Whatever the spherical shape to the eyeball is maintained with the help of vitreous humor, and it is never replaced. It is never replaced. Thank you for this lecture.